Hello and welcome to the Monocle Weekly. This time I had the pleasure to speak with Billy Skelli-Cohen, CEO of the hotel group Beaumier. The rapidly growing French hotel group has just added another property to their portfolio, set amid the natural beauty of the Bernese Alps, the Grand Hotel Belvedere. Billy tells me more. Billy Skelli-Cohen, CEO of Beaumier Hotels. What a pleasure. I am a big fan of the brand. I've stayed in one of your properties. My first question to you, Billy, you're fairly new. You're CEO of Beaumier, but I think you've been appointed last December or in January. How does it feel to be there?
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah, I'm a newbie. I joined in December, even though I had been following the group for a few years already. And it's been great. It's been great to build on what already has been a terrific start for the group and a nice growth trajectory, and just working with a great group of people, a great group of very passionate people, and lucky to have my hands on this incredible portfolio.
From my understanding of the brand, as I said, I've stayed in one of the properties, Petunia, which I thought it was beautiful. It feels to me that you want growth, but I think you always pick hotels in amazing locations. They have such a connection to place in a way. So I think growth for you guys is good, but I think you really take time to decide where your new hotel would be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's we've been lucky to assemble a group of hotels that are all in really special locations, right? That have a lot to offer, and a lot of soul, a lot of culture, a lot of history. And then in addition to that, we've gone our hands on hotels that already have their own history and their own DNA that we're trying to build on. So, I've been saying a lot of the time that, we're kind of writing the next chapter of those hotels, right? There were a lot of chapters before us. So the combination of being in these great surrounding, beautiful nature, beautiful towns and villages across our portfolio, but then also getting to work on these assets that have a lot of character, that combination, if we don't screw it up too badly, can add up to things that are quite special.
One example of what you just said about kind of, it's not necessarily just a brand new hotel, but these are places with history, is the reopening of the Grand Hotel Belvedere in Switzerland as well. I know you have properties in Spain as well, but I think it's the first time in Switzerland, right?
Yeah, I was actually just there yesterday. What an exciting time for us to open a hotel in Wengem. And, I'm ashamed to say I was a little bit familiar with the valley, but wasn't really familiar with Wengem until Beaumier did this project. And it truly is a magical place, right? You got to take a little train to get to this town that feels a little retro, but you can also feel is going through a kind of a reinvention. And it's, I've now been there in every season, and it is just breathtaking how beautiful it is. Just so beautiful. The nature surrounding the hotel is so incredibly special. And now, for the past 3 years, working on kind of the repositioning and improvement of the Grand Hotel Belvedere and Valgrand, this domain right in the heart of Wengem, and just can't wait now that we've just opened our doors to welcome guests so they can experience the hotel, but also really experience the destination.
I was wondering, how much did you have to change in terms of design and food? You needed to put the Beaumier imprint there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be quicker to say what we didn't change, but in essence, we inherited these two kind of landmark buildings with a beautiful garden in between and a forest next to it. So, like I said at the start, right, already a building that had a lot of DNA and a lot of character. I think what the group has done really well is kind of embrace and getting kind of that mix of embracing the old and mixing it with the new. There's quite a lot of yin and yang of kind of modern and classic throughout the design and the buildings. But, a total reinvention of the domain with new food and beverage concept, a spa, and all new design across obviously all bedrooms and the whole campus.
And I'm happy to say there will be a pop-up shop for Monaco as well. Just plugging it
Yeah,
in
very
there.
excited. It's going to open, I believe, June 9th. So it's right around the corner, but it's in a really cool little spot in the lounge lobby area of the hotel. It's this old little room, and we've kept kind of a lot of the original features of that room, and then going to bring some kind of the coolness and relevant of Monocle. So it's a nice little add-on to the hotel.
I would like to ask you as well, now that you're going to Switzerland, as I mentioned, you have also property in Spain, but do you feel that when you're, opening a hotel or working at a hotel like the Belvedere, do you think a lot about the French customer? Or do you see Beaumier as a kind of becoming a more of a global brand in that sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had that debate with marketing directors for many, many years. I don't think very much of the customers when we're building hotels.
Mhm.
I think more about creating a great place with a great sense of place, and hopefully an environment where people can create great experiences for themselves. Now, the reality is, our biggest feeder market across our portfolio is actually not France. It's the UK and the US.
Hmm.
It varies a little bit hotels to hotels, and a couple of our French hotels, France is probably the biggest feeder market, but really across the portfolio, the UK and the US are very prominent. For us with Switzerland now, a big market that we're introducing is the German market, which is a huge feeder market into Wengen, which has been a relevant market for us in our portfolio, but certainly not to that extent. But Wengen is a fascinating place. I actually was just there, and there's a huge Asian contingency that goes to Wengen. So a lot of Indian and Chinese also that visit, and that's kind of new for us as a clientele into our hotels. But like I said, right, I think for us, really the focus is, to develop, hotels and employee and customer journeys that we can be proud of, and let people enjoy themselves, whether they're, French, British, and American. We just want them to connect to what we're doing.
Looking ahead for the summer season, are you excited when you look at the bookings already and everything? I follow, for example, Le Roche Rouge. I mean, that hotel already became incredibly iconic, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Rush Rouge again. For us, this summer is about two big openings, right? The opening, obviously, of Vangam, and us moving into Switzerland, and the new wing that we're opening in Rush Rouge, right? And like you said, a real iconic hotel already in our portfolio, and wanted to make sure that our loyal following, that we're making them proud with what we're doing, but also introduce a new dimension to the hotel. Now, there's boat access with the hotel. We've introduced a couple of new F&B outlets. So really excited on how that's come together. So it's been a big couple of weeks for us, right? We've opened Rush Rouge, we've opened Vengam, and then going into the summer. Yeah, I mean, business is really encouraging. Feedback so far has been great. We never stand still, right? We know there's always work to do and always things to kind of make business better and make our employee and guest experience better, but really encouraged by what we're seeing going into the summer season on the back of a really solid winter season for us.
Billy, what makes a good hotel for you? I can even tell you what I think makes a good hotel: food. I mean, for me, it's so important. And I think that's something that you deeply care as well, Beaumier. But tell us, what are kind of the marks of a good hotel for you?
I think about this a little differently than most people. I think the number one thing that makes a hotel good is a place where it's easy for employees to smile, right? I think it all starts there. I think in our business, we underestimate how good we have to make it. It's not easy to work in a hotel, right? You're on your feet. There's a lot going on all day. There's a lot of fires all the time. So creating an environment where our employees can feel comfortable, be themselves, be safe, feel empowered, and have a good time. I think it really starts there, right? Because you can have the most beautiful design, you can have the greatest food in the world. If we don't create that environment where the people that are making it happen comfortable and flourishing, we're always going to fall short. After that, for me, and I think it's very relevant to Beaumier, but I think becoming more and more relevant to our industry. Again, right, design is important, and little touches are important, and food and beverage is very important. But I think more and more, and certainly something we talk a lot about is moving away from providing kind of these experiences that are forced, and creating an environment that has the confidence to allow the guests to decide how they want to experience our hotels and its surroundings, and that ultimately that's what creates magic for the guests, right? Is for them to get somewhere and feel super comfortable, and whether they want to, it's a time that they want to kind of retreat within themselves, or a time when they want to let loose, and no matter how they want to eat, drink, spa, pool, experience the area, that we're just providing them a great environment to do that the way they want to, so that they can shape their own experiences.
That's a beautiful answer. And finally, Billy, I just want to ask, you just came back from the Grand Hotel Belvedere, which is very, very exciting. And what next? Do you go to the properties quite a lot, then visit each one of them every time?
Yeah, I don't know how to do what I do without spending a lot of time with the hotels, right? We have a great team in our head office that does so much for our group, right? But without getting the feedback on the ground, and without spending a lot of time with the operational team on, whether it's big strategic decisions or the very small little detail that we think are going to enhance our hotels, I don't feel like I'm personally adding the value that I need to be adding. So I spend a lot of time in our hotels. I spend more time in our hotels than anywhere else. And also I feed from that energy, frankly, right? I come away from our hotels selfishly incredibly energized by seeing our team work, by seeing guests interact with our hotels. It gives me a lot of energy and inspiration on whatever might be next for us in the future.
Thank you very much. Billy Skelli-Cohen there, CEO of the hotel group Beaumier. And for more information, go to beaumier.com. And the Monocle shop is open at the Grand Hotel Belvedere in Wengen, Switzerland, until the 10th of September. The show was edited by Lily Austin, and I am Fernando Augusto Pacheco.